I spent several hours watching VODs of pro teams playing Icebox and made a guide so that you could play the map better in your ranked games. Make sure you guys subscribe and leave a like if you enjoy. Let's start with the rumored changes that are coming to Icebox. First, the yellow crate toward B site is being adjusted vertically, and they're adding a double stack box toward the back of it. B site or nest is also rumored for a big change. The rope and window get moved toward the left a little bit. The bottom of the site is no longer hollow, and there's a small cubby indented toward the bottom of the site as well. If we look toward B long or garage, we can see the lane being widened quite a bit toward B site. This will give the attackers a little bit more wiggle room when they're pushing up B long, and also give you one less cubby that you have to clear when you're attacking. As we move over toward A site, the small green box will be replaced by a typical single stack box, and pipes will receive an adjustment to nerf the head glitch angle that attackers can receive when they're playing on top of this angle. Now, let's get into the agent compositions that pro teams used in VCT Champions in Berlin. Jett, Sova, and Viper all had a 100% pick rate throughout the entire tournament. That means that every single team that played Icebox picked those three agents 100% of the time. Similarly, Sage had a 96% pick rate during the entire tournament as well. There was only one team that decided not to rock Sage on Icebox, and that was Team Envy. So Jett, Sova, Viper, and Sage are used almost every single time on Icebox. But what about that fifth agent that fills the flex role that I talk about a lot on this channel? For the fifth and final agent, Reyna was used 67% of the time, Killjoy was used 25% of the time, KO was used 8% of the time, and Raze was used 4% of the time. Now, since VCT Champions in Berlin, we have two new agents that have been welcomed to pro play: Chamber and Neon. And while I think Chamber could definitely be thrown into the mix for this flex pool, Neon definitely doesn't have a place on Icebox. A lot of professional analysts describe Icebox as a stale map because of the standard agent composition that's used here. However, with the changes that we talked about that are coming to Icebox itself, it will be interesting to see how that composition changes as the map does as well. Now that we have a baseline for the typical team composition used, let's talk about how teams actually defend on Icebox. Most teams are very passive toward B site while defending on this map. While they might be aggressive in breaking utility such as Sova's drone or an arrow, a lot of teams fall back all the way to the back of site so that they can delay the plant with either Viper mollies, or if a team runs Killjoy as their flex agent, Killjoy mollies as well. Since the attacking team typically places a Sage wall when they plant on B site, the Viper molly can go under the Sage wall and make the opponent vulnerable as they're trying to plant the spike. Oftentimes, this forces the attacker off the bomb and buys time for the defending teammates to rotate over to B site. You'll often see the defending Viper use what we call a retake wall to block off yellow and green toward the back of B site. This retake wall makes it very difficult for the attackers to have a successful post plant because they have no vision to the spike whatsoever. Now, if you guys watch a lot of ranked play, you know it's very common for the defending Sage to wall tube at the beginning of the round. However, in pro play, that's almost never seen, as the defending Sage uses their wall as a retake wall. Let's continue to use B site as the example here. Let's say the attackers plant in the default position, and we have a Viper wall that goes across yellow and green for the defending retake wall. The Sage wall can be used as a double barrier to block off yellow and green and get a safe defuse on the spike, which is why you oftentimes see defenders holding onto that wall. If we move over to how defenders play on A site, it's the complete opposite to what you see on B site. Instead of playing passive, you'll often see a Jett or a Chamber playing super aggressive toward pipes or under pipes to get an early pick. When the attacking team is executing A site, it's very common to be flushed out with Sova utility such as a dart or a drone. So it's important that when you're defending, you coordinate with a teammate who's going to break the Sova utility so you can get away with these very aggressive angles. In the event that the attacking team takes control of A site, it's super common for defending Sovas and Vipers to have lineups toward the default plant to do chip damage while they're planting. These lineups typically come from screens toward A site and look something like this.
Spike planted.
As far as mid goes when defending on Icebox, you typically have an information character on lock. In the event where there's no Killjoy or Chamber, you typically have a Sova watching mid using his arrow or drone to get information on any lurkers. However, when you have a Killjoy or Chamber on the defending team, it makes watching mid and lurks so much easier. That's typically taken care of by a Killjoy turret, alarm bot, or Chamber alarm bot. Just a quick break in the video to inform you guys of my partnership with Swipe Mousepads. I've been using their Hero mousepad for about a month now, and I gotta say it's the best of both worlds when it comes to speed and precision in a mousepad. On top of that, it's gotta be one of the best looking mousepads on the market as well. You guys can use code ZK at checkout for 10% off. Thank you in advance for the support. Now that we know how to defend on B site, A site, and mid, let's talk about how we can successfully attack on Icebox. No matter where your team decides to hit, whether it's B site, A site, or mid, you almost always see the team leading with some sort of Sova utility. On B site, this could be droning up C long and clearing out those cubbies or any operator angles. Whereas on A site, it's super common to dart belt right away, which covers all of pipes in the close nest position. Let's use this 5-man execute from Gambit as an example of how we can attack on this map. It's important to note that this round is centered around Nats's Viper Pit and Redgar's Resurrection. Immediately as the round starts, you can see Chronicle throwing a Sova dart toward that belt position that we talked about earlier. Again, this dart clears all of pipes and the nest position if any of the defenders move up into nest right as the round starts. One other thing that you'll notice is that Gambit Nats throws his Viper Pit toward the back of A rafters. This is a really strong angle to block off, as the defenders can't get any line of sight from that position. From here, you'll see Chronicle drop off a belt and drone into sight. Now, Shadows throws a blind here, and this blind is really important because it prevents the opposing team from breaking the drone, since they're going to be completely blind if they look up towards it. As we can see, this drone is super powerful because it's able to clear out everything except for the back of Gen because of the defending Viper Orb there. This allows Shadows to sneak onto the top of 410 here and get the opening kill. That opening frag is what opens up the site and allows Nats to get his ult down. From here on out, there was a huge brawl onto the site, but of course the attacking team Gambit is in a huge advantage since they were able to get the Viper's Pit down and they went on to win the round. With that being said, I will say that 5-man executes are super uncommon in pro play. Now, of course, that was used there because they had the Sage Res online as well as the Viper Pit. But again, that's not something that you'll see very often in pro Valorant play. What you will see, however, and especially on Icebox, is a lot of lurking. Now, Nats is famous for this, lurking through mid, lurking through kitchen, and getting insane position on his opponents. His team will show presence toward a certain side of the map and completely play off of Nats's lurk. That example is shown perfectly in this clip, where his team shows presence toward A site, and Nats lurks all the way through B, getting 2 picks on his opponents and recalling his team back to get a plant on B site.
How? But how? How is he there? How is he there? I don't understand. How does he manage to do that? And oh, he's gonna get a kill on Mixos. What is this man doing?
One super common thing that you'll see to make your lurk even better is the Viper throwing an orb toward mid, which denies any info from Boiler from the defenders. If you guys remember earlier in the video, I talked about how much value a Killjoy alarm bot or a Chamber alarm bot can have on this map, and that's exactly why, to prevent these lurks from happening. Another thing that makes Icebox as a map very intriguing is that tempo change is super common. One round, you'll have a team doing a complete 5-man rush toward a site, and another round, you'll have a team playing a slow default and working on a lurk through mid. Unlike Split, where most rounds play out the full minute and 40 seconds due to baiting out utility, it makes maps like this so much more enjoyable to both watch and play because everything isn't as predictable as it is on those slower maps. Lastly, when you're executing A site, one super popularized plant spot is to plant on the top of A site nest. More and more teams are doing this, and as you can see in this clip, Gambit Nats did this in the group stage of the 2022 VCT Challengers qualifiers.
They can find another kill here, that'd be fantastic. A nasty plant spot for Nats, really difficult to do anything about that in a buy round.
This plant spot is almost impossible to lose in a post plant position. If you think about it, you can see it from pipes, you can see it from the back nest, you can see it from belt, you can see it from jail. You can pretty much see this spike plant from anywhere, and it's almost impossible to lose. We've covered it all in regards to Icebox. If you found this video helpful, make sure you leave a like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you don't miss our weekly videos. If you didn't know, I also stream on Twitch every single day at 12 p.m. Eastern time. Check out one of these other videos on my channel, and I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Peace.